Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Refuge from Narcissism. This refugee video is sponsored by contribution from Mike. And I kind of messed up on the first video. Well, I didn't. My email is weird because it looked like that was the end of the email. I thought it cut off, but under it said show original message, and instead of original message, it's like a continuation of the same story. So I don't know. There might be a problem with Yahoo. So this is from the lay your cards on the table when dealing with the narcissist at work story. And this is Mike. He's working in a school system. There's this IT guy that's like publicly like getting in his face, and I told him, you got to cut that off right away. So here's the continuation. The last line was, he almost had a Terminator vibe at times. I left for a 2-week vacation in 2017 and submitted my evaluation of him to the annual district survey. My exact comments were, I wish he would show any emotion other than anger. When I got back, he suddenly transformed. He convinced me he was a new man and was behaving like the best boss in the world. I wondered if he had an epiphany or got in trouble. One thing I really hated about the guy is that his manager had no idea what he was doing. I hated how he would do something really inappropriate, like attack me in front of my team and then apologize in private later, yet there was no other consequences. I'm so sick of hearing people say, I wish I had handled that better, but not learn a damn thing or be held accountable. But for a few months, things were amazing and I was incredibly engaged. I love my job. Anyway, the conclusion of this story will make you smile. The relationship began to deteriorate again when I worked remote to get a project finished while he was at a conference. I distract easily, and this guy had mindlessly followed Google's open office ideas, and it was unbelievably distracting. I got all of my work finished, delivered a project for all our librarians, and got a standing ovation. The success of the project reminded me of who I was. I used to be a pretty well-respected consultant at one point in my life, and he would not have survived a week in that world. My balls were back. He came back and immediately wrote me up. Then he made me go on an apology tour to the other managers where he would sit next to me while I apologized to them. For what? What are you apologizing for? Their faces were utter bemusement when I made the apology, as they had no idea why. My wife told me I should have never agreed to do that. I'd like your thoughts on what that was all about. This is about... Okay, so let me tell you a story about when I was at Macy's. And this is when I'm in the Jersey City store. And I had gone from Herald Square to Jersey City, and Jersey City at the time was the prototype store for Federated Department Store, which is the umbrella company of Macy's Inc., Bloomingdale's, yada yada. So everything, all new technology, everything went, and all focus went to that building because it was going to be what was rolled out to the rest of the company, where, if you remember, all the employees started had to wear black, and the company logo changed back to a red star in front of the Macy's logo. There was a bunch of stuff like, and that store was the first store. And the reason I got sent to that store is because the shortage was 5.7%. It was $1.2 million on a $60 million store. The store had been open for a year. It was out of control. The whole thing was just fucked up. The store manager was this guy I worked with up in Rockaway, 6'8". And when I remembered him from Rockaway, I liked him. But when I interviewed to go to the store, he talked to me, and he brought up an investigation that I had on somebody who was now like a senior VP in in human resources at the time. Something that had gone down, and he brings this up to me, and I didn't even remember what I had to go back and I had to remember what it even was, and I'm like, whoa, buddy, like, you know, you're not even supposed to be talking to me about this kind of stuff. She obviously didn't get fired, but she messed up. And I remember the interview was done with me and my boss conducted it, Barry Dupree, who was like the group vice president of internal investigations. And I'm like, wait a minute, that was Barry. Like, I was just in the room, because I remember the girl started crying. And so the problem in that store was the store manager was a complete fucking bully. He was in over his head, but nobody wanted to tell him. He was this big oaf of a guy, 6'8", but he thought you couldn't tell him anything. He thought, he thought the sun rose and set by him. Because everything was going well in that store, other than the shortage being out of control. But the reason the shortage was out of control is because all their successes were on the surface. That store succeeded despite them, not because of them. It would have been a lot better. So anyway, long story short, after after like 18 months, we got the shortage from a 5.6% down to 2.2%. And a big part of that was my own assistant was stealing. He was stealing from 2 stores. There was a whole litany of managerial issues where nobody was paying attention to anything. Nobody could get to talk to this guy. So anyway, that was like the biggest drop in shortage in the company. And there was a meeting. There's a loss prevention executives meeting that summer. They had it every meeting. It was at the airport Sheridan in Newark, New Jersey. They flew in all the LP executives once a year, for this big 600-person thing. And, I got an award for, best shortage, greatest improvement, yada, yada, recognized. So, and it was a nice plaque and all. And so the next day, every morning, there's like a rally at the store, at store level, what's going on, yada, yada. I'm like, hey guys, we won this award. Not I, we, it was recognized. We had the best shortage presented. This is all because of the hard work you all did. Like, to everybody. As soon as the store opens, here comes fucking doofus screaming at me. How dare you? You take your eye off the ball. He goes, yeah, the shortage came down, but that's not because of you. I'm like, whoa. And how dare you brag about that award? I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay, you're just out of your mind. You're just an out of your mind narcissistic control freak. And now you don't hear me. They label that many other outside of my family in my life, narcissist. But that's what this guy was. A narcissist. And it would get triggered anytime I got recognized outside the store. It would physically trigger, and like they knew it. Like, that's why the regionals thought it was fucking hilarious watching him have these goddamn meltdowns. But he couldn't handle it. That's his own weakness, and that's what this guy was doing to you. Okay? He wants to take your positive and turn it into a negative. That's what they do. I had a boss. It wasn't even my boss. I didn't even directly report to him. Okay? And I had to, I think I've told this before, where I had to tell him, do not let your title, don't confuse your title with my authority. Don't do it. That would drive him insane, but it was the truth. Sorry, you don't like it. You have to do some things I tell you to do, and you don't like it. Now, this guy is your direct, I guess he's your boss, so he really don't like it. He really don't like it. It all came to a head one day where I was on a conference call with him and my team, and we were asking for his help. He kept going into a rant against me in the middle of my sentence, and it ended up with me yelling at him Ollie Matthews style. Thank you. Which is what I said had to happen in the first video. You just got to confront it. Like, who are you to talk to me like this? I don't care who you are. I wish you'd have been in the room. You'd have been proud. There was silence from him. I'm not a tough guy at all, and I actually avoid conflict. But he had walked into the room, and I would not have backed down from a physical fight. I was pushed too far. The next day, of course, I resigned the next day, of course, but I worked my notice. I told HR I was happy to complete my obligations as long as there were no more conversations with this clown. And if he talked to me like a child, I would respond in a way he might never recover from. I wrote down everything and sent it to his boss's boss, too. The next time I saw him in person, I needed something from him for a project. So I walked towards him at a pace with my eyes locked onto him like I would in any other enthusiastic encounter. The little bitch looked away. It was just briefly. But any man could pick up on those signals, and in that moment the bully was exposed for the little punk he always knew he was. That's why he resorted to sneaking behind people's backs. Not just his wife, but his own boss, who he stabbed in the back to get his undeserved job. 5 years later, and I am pleased to report, he was the last bad boss I ever had. He's still in that district, probably the only place a little beta like him could ever survive. What do you think, Ollie, if you have any thoughts on the teaching profession and those that work in districts? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Take care, man. Mike. So I wish I had seen it all at the beginning, but yeah, I mean, I kind of had it. You got to stand up because you got to put your cards on the table right there and then. So I'm glad to hear you actually did put your cards on the table. Now, as far as the teaching profession, look, teaching is now a magnet for sociopaths and narcissists. People looking to, like I said in the last video, relive their youth or redo their youth. And the ones that want to redo their youth, boy, they're the dangerous ones. Boy, are they the dangerous ones. Okay? There's something about a school structure. It's like a prison structure. People want to be they want to stay in high school forever. They want to be a pseudo-controlled type of environment where they could be the kings and queens of their little ponds. Because it's far, 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 far away from educating. So, I hope that helps. Sorry, I had to break it up into 2 videos, but I'm glad I got the rest of it. Thank you again for your contribution and story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like me to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal or Zelle and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Refuge from Narcissism. Take care, everyone.